Coding made easy.
So what's up everybody, and welcome to your next SDL 2.0 tutorial. And in this tutorial we're just going to be setting up for what we're going to be doing for the remainder of the tutorial. So we're going to set up one class. So I guess I'll call this SDL with classes or something. I don't really know, but in the tutorial following this one, we want to tackle some bounding box collision and some other types of collision after this. So it will make it easier if we actually set up a player class, and it'll help you to see how you can utilize SDL with different classes, just in case you're wondering how to do so. So we're going to create a new class, and I'm just going to call this a player class. So the player class, we're going to need to set a few things. So we need to have the SDL rect. So we're going to have first of all, before we can even do that, we need to include SDL.h. Okay, so we need the SDL rect, and we're gonna call this our collision rect. And we're going to have one, but we're gonna make this public, and we're gonna make this we're gonna call it the position rect. We also need a move speed. We need a frame counter. We need a frame width and a frame height. We need a boolean to see if it's active or not. We also need a SDL scan code, which is the enum, and these are going to be the keys that we can actually input with. We need the texture width, which I'll put in here, and we need the texture. So that's all we're gonna have there for now, and then we're gonna put first we'll put the renderer, SDL renderer, render target, and we need to include the string class so that we can get the file path. We need the X, we need the Y, and we need the amount of frames in the X and the amount of frames in the Y coordinate. So what we're gonna also have, we're gonna have an update, which is going to take the delta time and the constant uint8 for the key state, have a pointer to that. And we also need a draw, which is going to take the renderer. And we'll add in that method later in the next tutorial, the method that we're going to use for collision detection. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take this right here, and we're going to place this here. So now the only thing that we have in our class that we need to destroy is a texture. So we're just going to put that in our destructor, and we're going to say SDL destroy texture, and we're going to destroy texture. And so what we're going to do right now is we're going to go to our main.cpp, and we're just going to take everything inside our load texture method, and we're going to place it in here. So to actually do image loading, we're going to have to take in SDL underscore image.h, and for cout, you know what, let's take this and put this in our CPP file, because we don't need it in our header file. So let's take our IO stream, put it right there, and everything's good. So it handles the loading and such for us, and we'll just take these out. So once we're done loading in our texture, what we want to do is we want to get the dimensions for our texture. So we're just going to say get our texture for format, and for the axis we just set them to null, and we are going to put the crop rect. Did I do something wrong? Oh, it should be crop rect, not collision rect. Crop rect, and we'll say crop rect dot width and crop rect dot height. So we're gonna we're gonna store those values. So what we want to do after is we want to set the position rect dot x equal to the x coordinate that they set in there, and we also want to set the position rect y equal to the y value that they specify. So you'll be able to specify the starting position of your player. And now that we've gotten the width and the height, what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, our texture width is equal to crop rect dot w. So now we actually want to set the real width and the real height. And so what we're going to do is we're going to say crop rect dot width divide equals frames x. So if we say we have frames in the x coordinate, 3 frames in the x coordinate, it's going to say, okay, the total width, which is 96, 96 divided by 3 is going to be equal to 32. And same thing with the height. Let's say frames y. And so we're going to say our frame width is equal to crop rect dot width, and our frame height is equal to crop rect dot height, as well as our position rect dot width is going to be equal to you know what, put position rect dot x is equal to, so they're all going to be set to the same dimensions. And voila, so we've set the position, the x and y position where we're starting, the width and height of the actual sprite, and where to actually crop it from, and so on. And we got the frame width and the frame height. And let's see if we missed anything that we need to set values for. So we need to set values for our keys and for isActive. So it's always good to set a default value even if you're going to change it later on. So we're just going to set isActive to false. And now what we're going to do, we're going to make a static variable, a static int, and we're just going to call it player number, and we're just going to set it to 0, and then we're going to increase it by 1 as soon as we do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, if the player number is equal, you know what, yeah, we'll just say if the player number is equal to 1, then these are the keys that we want to set. So we're going to set our keys to SDL scan code. So for the first player, their up button is going to be W. For the second key, their down key is going to be S, or in the position of S on QWERTY. Scan code for left is going to be A, and for keys 3 it's going to be equal to D for right. And then we're just going to put else. So if it's any other player that we add, then we're going to set up to the up button, down, left, and right. So it's going to be set to the arrow key. So what's happening is static variables aren't really a part of the class instance. They're just a part of the class per se. And so we're going to create that static and set it to 0, and we're going to add 1 to it. So the first player that we create, this is going to be set to it. Then whenever we create a new instance, it's going to add 1 to player number, and so since it's not equal to 1, it's going to set the controls to these controls right here. And so this is the initial setup. So let me just walk you through it. We load it in just like we did with load texture, and we free everything. We get the width and the total width and the height of the texture, and we set the original x and y position that we specify in there. We set the texture width equal to the width that we got from here. Then we get the actual sprite width and height that we want, and then we set the frame width and the frame height value to what we want. And then we set the isActive to false, and we set the controls. And that's all we need to do for initialization. So now quickly, because I know the time is racking up on us, we're going to do the update and the draw methods. So put key state in there. So all we're going to do is we're just going to say, okay, if for key state keys 0, so that's the up key, then we want to, first of all, sorry, did we set a move speed? Yeah, we did, but we didn't actually give it a value. So let's give move speed a value of 200F. So we're gonna say, okay, position rect dot x plus, minus equals, because in SDL the 0, 0 coordinates at the top left corner. So if we want to go up, we have to subtract in the y coordinate. Sorry. So we're gonna say subtract equals move speed times delta, and we're going to say else if key state keys 1, so if they press the down key, we're going to say position rect dot y plus equals move speed times delta. And there's a reason why I'm putting the braces, because we're going to be adding in something a bit later. But we're going to say, okay, if they press the left key, which is keys 2, then we're going to say position rect dot y minus equals move speed times delta. And last but not least, we're going to say key state keys 3, and we're going to set position rect dot x plus equals move speed times delta. And we're going to put an else, and we're going to say is active is equal to false. And at the very top, we're going to say is active to true. So what we're going to assume that they're going to be pressing a button, so we're going to say is active is true. If one of these buttons are pressed, then we do the action. If none of them is pressed, that means our player is not active, and that means don't do the animation. So we're just going to say, okay, if is active, what we're going to do is we're going to say frame counter plus equals delta. And we're going to say, okay, if frame counter is greater than or equal to 0.25F, which is update 4 times a second, then we're going to say, okay, we're going to set frame counter equal to 0, and then we're going to increase the crop rect dot x by the frame width. Then we're going to do a quick check to see if the x is greater than or equal to the texture width. And if it is, we're going to set it back to 0 like we did before, and that is that. And then if we're not active, what we're going to do is just we're going to set frame counter to 0, so it resets sort of where we start counting for the frame. And then we are going to set crop rect dot x equal to our frame width. Now the reason why we do that is if you take a look at our image, the standing image is in the middle. So we want to say, okay, if you're not active, we want to put the standing image, which starts right here, which is the frame width, which starts at 32. So whichever direction we're facing, we're going to stand in that direction. So that's all this does for us right now. So the reason why I put this here is I kind of just want to explain it, because I did not explain this before. So if we press up, we want to draw this right here, these set of frames right there. So we have to change the y coordinate to start drawing from here instead of drawing from 0. And so how are we going to do that? So we're just going to say crop rect dot y is equal to frame height times 3. So basically our frame height is 32, right? Or I think it's 40. I think I increased the image size, but whatever. It's 32 by 32. So 32 times 3, 1, 2, 3, it's 96. We'll start drawing from this section 96, and we'll start drawing these right here. So now if they press the down key, we just have to set the y to 0. Set it to 0. If they press left, we just have to set it to the frame rate, the frame height. We don't have to multiply it by 1, because that doesn't do anything to it. And then if they press right, we're gonna set that equal to our frame height times 2. And so whichever direction we press, it's going to move in that direction. Last but not least, we have to do the drawing. So we have the SDL renderer. And then we're going to say SDL render copy. And we're going to put the render target in there, our texture, our crop rect, and our position rect. And don't forget to add the reference to it. And voila, that's it. I don't think we have anything else we have to do. So let's go to main right now, and we can get rid of this current image right here. Get rid of all the sound stuff. We don't really need that in this tutorial. Get rid of the sound and TTF everything. Get rid of that, and get rid of the mix. And we just gotta remember to put image quit. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're going to create our players, and we can also remove this method right here. So we need to include the player class, and we're going to, I guess right down here. Wait, where did we create our renderer? Did I delete that? I did. Okay, so I'm just gonna take this from my other project here and just create the renderer. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a player. We're gonna call it player 1, and how come it's not showing me anything? It's not showing me the parameters. Not sure why it's not, but let's copy this. So we need a render target. Our file path is player.png. Our x and y, we'll just set that to 0, 0. And our frames are x is 3 frames and the frames y is 4. And we'll say player 2, and we'll do the render target. Take the same image. The x will do 600 by 400 and the same amount of frames. So that's it. And what we're gonna do in here, we need to, first thing, we gotta create our delta time. So we're gonna say our current time, and we're gonna have our previous time, set that to 0, and have our delta. And we also need to have our constant uint8, our key state. So what we're going to do here is we're going to say, like we did in our frames per second video, previous time equals current time is equal to SDL get ticks, and our delta is equal to current time minus previous time divided by 1000.0f. Simple enough. And then for our key state, we're going to say SDL get keyboard state, and we're just going to pass null in there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say player1.update, and we're going to pass in delta and pass in the key state, and player2.update delta key state. And then last but not least, we are going to draw our player. So draw, pass in the render target, and draw the second player. So let's run this. Hopefully we don't get any errors. So it says error. So let's see where we went. Oh, in my project is called image, not player. So let's do image, and let's run this. And we got no errors, but we don't see anything. Okay, so I just ran this and debugged it, and simple error, I put X and Y here. It should be width and the height. for the position rec, so it wasn't really. So let's continue this. Hopefully this works. And yeah, so voila, we have this. So as you can see, whichever direction we put, it turns that direction, and you can see the walking animation. When we stop, it shows us down animation. And for the second character, we can use the arrow keys. So that's it for this tutorial. Sorry for it being so long, but in the next tutorial we're going to be covering collision, bounding box collision, so hopefully you guys like that. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to comment, rate, and subscribe, and don't forget to like my page on Facebook, follow on Twitter, and don't forget to sign up on my website as well. So that's it, and bye for now.